Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, Lore and Frey, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. I forgot how much I enjoy the Azure Striker Gunvolt games because these were games that I picked up in like the that era of the 3DS eShop where I was like trying everything that came out and kind of just blowing through game after game, like trying to play everything. And there was a lot of great stuff I missed out on. Shin Megami Tensei is probably the most blatant example, but there are a handful of good games. And one of the ones I picked up like several years after it first premiered were the Azure Striker Gunvolt games. Now, I don't know anything about the legacy of this IP, but from what I understand, a group of people who worked on the Mega Man Zero games came together and were just like, you know what? Capcom sucks. Let's go ahead and make our own unique IP, utilizing a lot of the mechanics that made Mega Man Zero distinct. So you have like a similar art style, you have a similar concept of like cyberpunk, futuristic, like 2D platforming actions, but you get like really high quality sprite work, great animations, a bizarrely intricate story with all this weird lore and like background characters, and some surprisingly good boss fights. I enjoy Azure Striker Gunvolt in spite of its like numerous problems. Most specifically, like I think the game is a little bit too easy. I think like Gunvolt as a character is probably one of the most OP Mega Man clones I've ever seen in my life, just because of the way his powers work. Like, you just end up spamming his electric attack all the time. And it's awesome. It's really fun to use, but at the same time, it does feel a little bit too easy. I don't know. Maybe I should go back to like the older games and play them on a higher difficulty setting or something. I think you can do that. But like the games are a lot of fun, but like I've never gone back and played them, either one or two. And as a result, I was kind of iffy on picking up Azure Striker Gunvolt 3 because I was just like, I barely remember this series. I played them both. I kind of blitzed through both of them. I barely remember anything about them. They're not that long, but they were a lot of fun. Like great level design. Like there are a lot of positive things about it. So like I ended up playing the demo, loved it. Like even though I don't remember anything about Azure Striker 1 or 2, I decided to pick up 3 and I played the first couple of stages and I'm just like, oh yeah, this game is really, really good. Yeah, I really, really enjoy these games. In spite of their problems, Azure Striker Gunvolt 3 like has a lot of great moments. Great gameplay, two different characters you can play as. I think you might unlock more as the story proceeds. I've only played a couple of levels, but like the level design is great. Like it's easy to play. It's not all that weird. One of the things I have an issue with when it comes to Mega Man Zero and like a lot of the classic Mega Man sequels and the X sequels is that they got convoluted and don't make a lot of sense, and like the gameplay mechanics just aren't fun, and there's all this weird red tape when it comes to like where you can go and how and stuff like that. Like Mega Man Zero 1 has this weird mechanic where like if you fail enough times on a mission, like you just fail it and you just cannot do it on that run. It's brutal. It's an interesting mechanic, but it is brutal. I knew people growing up who tried playing that game and just could not get past it. I just could not get past the first couple of stages because it was so brutal. Azure Striker Gunvolt, I think, does a lot better job. Does a much better job being like appealing to play. It has all the aspects that make Mega Man Zero interesting and engaging and fun, with like the cool futuristic aesthetic and the characters and like a surprisingly charming plot in spite of being like anime as fuck. Like there are things to talk about, like to riff on when it comes to like how the series tries to over explain how like all this technology works and how everyone's powers affect each other, and how like and how like the skill system is supposed to work like in universe. It's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life. But I was wondering like what the voice actors were thinking when they delivered some of these lines. Like Kieran keeps talking about how she's like the dark priestess of the Yakumo syndicate or whatever the fuck, like over and over and over again when you first start playing as her. And I was just like, okay, we get it. We know who you are. We know what you do. Why is this a thing? And like this also takes an aspect for Mega Man Zero where like it seems to take place like decades after like the first two games. Like it's not like, like hundreds of years like Mega Man Zero One was after the end of the X games, but it is like similar in that respect where like you have the impression that all the characters from the first game are dead, but like the game doesn't really go into that at all. It just kind of has Gunvolt going around doing his thing. I don't know, man. This game technically has problems. It has a lot of stuff I could talk about when it comes like the combat and how it feels kind of odd. Like the animations are great, but like, the fact that you have to like hit enemies with your gun and then kind of like press R to hit them. It's kind of it's one of those it's one of those smaller budget games that really seems to like rethink the way that like action works in video games, because it seems like needlessly convoluted, but that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it interesting, honestly. Like I keep comparing the game to Mega Man Zero in a lot of ways, and the influence is there in like the designs of the characters and stuff like that, the enemies in particular. But like when it comes to like the gameplay itself, I really don't think there's anything like it. Like, I think Gunvolt did a really good job creating like an IP, a 2D action game franchise that's like really unlike anything else I've ever seen. When it comes to just how the admittedly extremely overpowered characters kind of have to fight their enemies with like the whole targeting system and just having lots of cool moves. There's lots of things you can do in this game. It's you have like a grappling hook, you have like your standard attacks, you have like the ability to throw things, you have like special attacks. You can switch to Gunvolt, who is OP as hell, by the way. That's actually a plot point, is that like Gunvolt has like become like a primal dragon or some shit and like can't actually control his crazy powers. So you can only switch to him like occasionally or something, but he's like so powerful. He tends to stop through everything anyway. Like he can jump indefinitely. He can, unleash like unlimited amounts of energy. It's crazy. It is it is a lot of fun. I am excited about going back and like playing this one right now. I probably shouldn't have bought this now because I'm still trying to go through Ys 9. I'm still trying to finish like my book, Jaw of the Dragon. I'm still trying to like do all this stuff. I'm reading a Japanese history book right now. I'm going through Watership Down. I have Dracula. I have like Monster, the classic manga series, which I think, going by what little I've read, might be a 10 out of 10. I have like all this stuff that I really need to do. Really need to make the time for. But when I do get around to Reserve Striker Gunvolt 3, I think I'm really gonna like it. I think Inti creates. Actually, one of the reasons I wanted to make this video, I really do feel like companies like Inti creates, like smaller indie dev studios that are putting out nothing but great stuff, like the Blaster Master Zero games, the Bloodstained games, the smaller ones, the ones that play like Castlevania 3, and this. Like, this is some of the most fun I've had with the Switch since it came out. I'm not exaggerating when I say like Blaster Master Zero made me a Blaster Master fan. All right, when I didn't grow up with the IP, when I heard of it, obviously it's considered a classic game among older fans, but I never got into it. I don't like the live system in those kind of games. It's a great game for sure, but like I just didn't really get into the original Blaster Master. Zero is absolutely something that I personally needed to get into the IP. So something that's more modernized, something that has a more concrete plot, and it has like real sequels, which I don't think are based on any existing Famicom game. It's exciting. I really, really wonder just what Inti Creates is going to come up with next. I would hope they do more with Bloodstained. I hope they get brought back on for like more Bloodstained spinoffs. I don't know what the status of Bloodstained is. Like they keep patching Bloodstained Ritual of the Night with like new content. I don't know when we're getting a sequel. I don't know why it's taking so long to put a sequel out, to be honest with you. And then like you have Inti Creates making these spin-off games, which are legitimately good, but at the same time, it's like, ugh. But anyway, this is an example of a studio that I think are being slept on by the vast majority of the Switch audience. This is why I'm upset at them, because, I was talking a little bit in June or July or something, how many great games were coming out on Switch in that time period. And it felt like the vast majority of fans were not talking about any of them, right? Like Live Alive, I just finished. Great game. I don't think like most YouTubers are talking about that. Azure Striker Gunvolt 3 came out in June 29th, 2022. All right. I was going to buy it, but like because of personal problems and because of like I think I was like tied up with something else at the time. I think I was like playing through 13 Sentinels or something like that. I decided to like hold off on it. And I only just now picked it up, and it is well worth the money. I really highly recommend this one, or the entire series rather.